Community is now becoming such a very, very important part of my life, where I used to think that I had to do everything alone. I was by myself. I needed to figure it out and make it work for myself. Now I'm starting to understand that that is not the way that God really intended for me to live my life, or any of us. Hi, welcome to Reflections with Kai. I'm Kai, and this is a space where we reflect, heal, and grow into who God says we are. And so if you've been feeling stuck, unseen, or unsure of your identity, then you are in the right place. And I just wanted to drop in with a short little video. And it's just like a reminder and an encouragement. So I used to be a girl who could never fit in, like no matter how hard I tried. And so eventually I grew into a woman that just stopped trying. I started to expect rejection, and I just thought that being a part of community was not for me. And the plus side of that is that I did learn how to enjoy my own company. I learned how to go out and do things and not have to, feel like I needed to be with other people in order to go to the places that I wanted to go to or have the experiences that I desired, right? And so in that, I even grew in confidence because I was enjoying my own company. I was taking risks, going out, doing things by myself that at first would seem a little scary, but then I realized just how much I could have fun, I could have peace, I could have joy, on my own. And then while I would be out or while I would be having these experiences, it was actually leading to me connecting to other people. And so now I'm in this place where God has been placing me within certain communities, and the relationships are forming naturally. They're forming almost effortlessly. Now, there is effort that I have to put in to maintain these connections, but overall, now I'm starting to come across people who are fit for my life and for the purpose that God has given me and for where he's taking me. I'm coming in contact with people who have the language for what I've experienced in my life and where I'm heading. And, they understand what God is doing with me to a certain extent. And so I have learned even more about myself being in community with other people, and surprisingly I have learned even more about God, because it's something about the way God will use other people that lets me see how big God is, right? I have come into certain knowledge that, I don't know, like it's like God is even more real to me now because of how I see him working in the lives of those that he's connecting me with. And so community is now becoming such a very, very important part of my life, where I used to think that I had to do everything alone. I was by myself. I needed to figure it out and make it work for myself. Now I'm starting to understand that that is not the way that God really intended for me to live my life, or any of us. He intended for all of us to be connected and to, walk in fellowship with one another. And that doesn't just have to look like, being a part of church groups or like small groups in your church or things like that. However, that is a part of it. And so I have started to learn how important community is for me in order to reach these next stages of my life that God has for me, that it's not okay for me to neglect the assembling together of one another, right? That not only do I need to go to the church that God is leading me to, but I need to stay in connection with the people that God has put in my life. And I can no longer afford to see people as I don't want to say temporary, but like, if you've experienced a lot of rejection from people, you've experienced a lot of disappointment from people, saying they're going to be there for you, but then they never are, or, you're always doing things for other people, but they're never returning the favor. I experienced a lot of that. And so I learned to just be, I learned to have this mindset of not to expect much, not to expect people to keep their word or come through, like to just expect the letdown. And so people just come and go, come and go, come and go. And God is starting to show me that not everybody is like that. And so he's putting certain people in my life now that are showing up, that do want to be there, that do want to support. But now I have to unlearn my own behavior now, because I've adjusted to being rejected. I've adjusted to not having people. And so I don't know how to show up the right way in my relationships. So I'm having to learn how to be consistent, reach out, communicate, do all these different things, because now I have community. But I'm just saying how I thought that I was just gonna live a life of not necessarily solitude, but with a lack of close and intimate relationships. And now God is just showing me that no, actually, I created you to live in fellowship. Like, I created you to connect with other people, because that's the only way you're really going to be who I've made you to be. You can only be who you are and do the things I'm calling you to do with other people. Like, you can't walk out your purpose in life alone. You have to be around people. And so as I'm in this place where I realize, like, oh my gosh, I have community. Like, I have people that I can call, that I could talk to, that I can hang out with. And it's been just a steady development in my life. And so if you are someone who you can relate, you know that maybe even from childhood, you never really had anybody. You don't know what it's like for people to show up for you. You don't know what it's like to have people that you can depend on, that you can trust. Just know that that's not God's portion for your life. He doesn't intend on you to live your life this way. I'm not saying that everybody's going to have loads and loads of friends and all these different things, because depending on what he's called you to do in life, most people still will not understand you. I mean, there are certain things, certain aspects of our walk with Christ that is just us and him. Like, other people can't really connect on certain things, or they can't be a part of certain things, because it's between us and him. But God will absolutely put people in your corner, and he will put you in other people's corners. And so you have to know how to show up. You have to know how to be there for other people as well. You have to know how to, really sacrifice and show up and intercede and be obedient concerning the things that God is calling you to do, in order to steward well the relationships that he puts in your life. And so in the season that we're in during this time, spiritually, God is positioning many of us because of the events in the world that are about to unfold. And it's important that we not only are looking at, how we can be secure financially, or in our careers, jobs, our businesses, our ministries, but also in the relationships that he puts in our life. And this is not exclusive to romantic relationships. I'm talking about all sorts of relationships. We have to really start looking at how we're managing other people in our lives now, because it matters. And there's so much favor to be found. There's a scripture that says that God will give us favor with himself and with man, right? And so there is favor that can be found in the relationships that we have with others. There are needs that can be met in the relationships that we have with others, that go beyond anything financial or any tangible things that people can give us, but even in our ability to receive revelation, and our ability to have peace, and our ability to just experience certain things, to be open up to certain opportunities, to reconcile with things from our past. Like, there's so much to be gleaned from our relationships with others. And above all, the most important thing is that it's in our relationships with others where we really learn how to love like God. And so it's not always going to be unicorns and rainbows. but we have the privilege and the opportunity to love, and we have a command to love as well. And so if God is putting certain relationships in your life, you may be looking like, oh, well, this is not what I really desire. I wish I had people I could do this with, or I wish I had people that could do this for me or would do this with me, or whatever the case may be. But whoever God has currently placed in your life, make sure you're stewarding them well. Because that could determine the types of relationships that he allows into your life moving forward. And I know we love to see ourselves as the hero in our own stories. We're very empathetic towards ourselves, and we see the good things about ourselves, but we may not see how we are impacting other people. We may not know that maybe in somebody else's story we're the villain. We've hurt them, we've mishandled them, we've mistreated them in some way, whether we realize it or not. Or maybe we think because we're not treating others the way that we've been treated, that we're doing better, when we could still be causing harm to people. And so this is just a really, really, really good time to evaluate the relationships that we have in our life. Lift up every person before God and ask him, who is this person? Did you send them? How am I supposed to, really connect with them and relate to them if you want me to? How long are they supposed to be in my life? For what reason? Who are these people? So that I know how to steward them well. And if you are somebody who you feel like you've been alone for a while, you wish that you had somebody I could talk to. It could be that God has you in a season where it's important for you to understand that he really can be your everything. Now, having other people in our lives is important, but God has to be the foundation of everything. And so even if I don't have anybody that I can talk to or I can hang with, I know that God is the priority for me. God is the person that I can go and talk to, that I can literally spend time with. God can make ways for me to have and do whatever I need. And even if I have other people in my life, because I established a foundation with him when I didn't have those people, I will still always go back to him. I will still always prioritize him and make sure that I'm cultivating my relationship with him, and I'm not using other people as like a surrogate, I'm not allowing other people being in my life to usurp like God's position in my life. And so it's not that God is not desiring to bring you into community, but there may be more of a foundation that you need to lay with him to make sure that you don't start putting people in his place, in his position, that don't need to be there. And then, he'll bring you the right people. And that's something that I've learned about just relationships in general. I don't want just anybody, to be friends with, to be in business with, to be in partnership with in any way. I want the people that God wants for me to be in relationship with, because those are the best relationships. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, because I used to think that I was just going to be the girl that was going to be alone. And I do have one dear friend, and we've been friends for a long time. I think we're coming on two decades now. And she's like my sister. She's my sister at this point, but we haven't always been in the same state. We haven't always, been on the same page about things in life. There's, been so many things that have happened. And so I would still feel alone sometimes. But now God is starting to put me in community within the body of Christ. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it. And I'm becoming better for it. I'm learning more about who I am and more about who he is, like I mentioned before, through this community. And so I just want anybody who's feeling alone or think that they're going to be alone for the rest of their lives to know that that is not God's portion for you. And if you feel like and this will be my last point, and I'm going to go. If you feel like you're alone because you're not in a romantic relationship, especially, it's going to be extremely important. It's going to be critical that you understand that God is your everything, first and foremost. God can meet those emotional needs. If you are struggling because you feel like, oh, well, I have physical needs I need met, I can guarantee you that there's something deeper there that makes you feel like you just absolutely have to be with someone physically and you can't control yourself. Usually that is a sign that there's some emotional wounding, or there's some things beneath the surface that need to be addressed, that need to be healed, so that you are willing to embrace God's design for physical intimacy. Okay? And so if you think that because you are not in partnership with a boyfriend or girlfriend, husband or wife, and that makes you lonely, then I can assure you that there's so much life to live with God. Not saying that it's wrong to have a desire to be with someone else, but if you really could tap into what it's like to have intimacy with God and to really live life with Him, then that desire wouldn't feel so negative, it wouldn't be so debilitating. You wouldn't be so just broken up because you don't have a romantic partner. And so I really challenge you, all the things that you desire for a romantic partner to give to you, to start asking God for it and see what He does. Because you need to understand, even if you have somebody else, that He still has to be first. And if He's not, it's not going to work out the way that you want it to. And so that's all. But anyway, I don't know. I just wanted to come and talk about that, talk about community and relationships, and, encourage everybody to do an audit of the relationships that they have in their life right now. Bring every person before God and start asking detailed questions, because there may be some people that need to leave. It may be some people that need to, you need to make room for to enter into your life, because these people could be destiny helpers. They could be the key to you accomplishing or obtaining the things that you really need for where God is trying to send you. And so it's important that you steward your relationships well, and that you embrace being a part of community, and know that you being in isolation, God may call us into isolation for certain time frames, to consecrate, to really just spend time with Him, focus on Him. But He does not call us to live outside of people. That is not the type of God that we serve. That is not what His word describes at all. And so we need to learn how to be in community again, because that's really where our love is developed. So anyway, I hope that this is encouraging to you, and I hope that wherever you are during the day, that you take some time, you take a moment to pause and just thank God for how far He's brought you. And I want you to have hope for where He's taking you, and just spend some time loving on Him. And I will catch you on the next video.